Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're unpacking a really structured approach to completely transforming your maintenance inventory. We're talking about taking it from a static, dusty old warehouse to a dynamic, data-driven ecosystem. Look, if you're in operations, you already know spare parts management can be a massive headache. But you know what? It really doesn't have to be. Let's jump right into some fascinating source material that shows us exactly how to get this whole thing under control.
So, let's start with a painfully familiar contradiction. I'm sure every maintenance manager knows this one well. You've got massive amounts of capital tied up in stock, right? Just shelves overflowing with parts. Yet, the second a critical machine goes down, boom, you're hit with downtime because that one specific part is somehow missing. It's literally the industrial equivalent of having a giant drawer stuffed full of old charging cables, but never, ever finding the exact one you actually need.
And why does this paradox happen? Well, it's usually because inventory decisions are based on old habits, outdated min-max spreadsheets, and honestly, a whole lot of guesswork. We hoard parts just in case, because someone, maybe a decade ago, thought we'd need them. The shift we're exploring today completely moves us away from those historical habits. Instead, we're leaning into concrete evidence, letting actual asset criticality and real, proven consumption patterns dictate what stays on the shelf.
Section 1. Exposing hidden inventory costs, the true drain on your budget. The biggest inventory costs actually aren't the parts themselves. The real financial drain comes from three main inefficiencies. First, emergency procurement premiums make up about 40% of the waste. You know, when you don't have a part, so you buy it in a panic at a huge markup. Next, about 10% is lost to labor inefficiency, which is literally just your technicians wasting time wandering the warehouse searching for things. And that massive 50% chunk, that is the sheer, brutal cost of downtime while you're just sitting around waiting for those parts to finally arrive.
Once you realize that downtime can actually exceed the value of the inventory itself, your whole perspective kind of shifts, doesn't it? True cost savings do not come from blindly slashing your stock levels. Actually, scratch that. It's more about eliminating the operational chaos. The sustainable 30% reduction that top-performing organizations achieve comes directly from better planning, putting together work order kits, and using robust reservation systems that just stop conflicts before they even start.
Section 2. How CMMS changes everything, from static warehouse to dynamic system.
A computerized maintenance management system, or CMMS, is really the absolute engine of this transformation. It creates a closed-loop system that connects your maintenance execution directly with your inventory control. So think about it. Every single time a part is issued, it gets linked to a specific failure mode, a specific asset, and a specific intervention type. Suddenly, every single part movement becomes traceable and forecastable based on real usage. That means you can finally, confidently, say goodbye to all that just-in-case safety stock.
Moving on to Section 3. 5 ways to cut costs. Enforcing waste-eliminating behaviors.
All right, so here is your step-by-step roadmap to finally reining in your inventory. Step 1, removing duplicates. Step 2, recalculating demand-driven levels. Step 3, segmenting your inventory by criticality. Step 4, providing real-time visibility. And Step 5, cutting the dead weight by disposing of obsolete stock. Simple enough, right? Let's break them down.
Diving straight into that first step, audits actually revealed that most storerooms contain a staggering 10 to 20% duplicated items. No way, right? But it's true. You might have the exact same bearing logged under 3 totally different vendor codes. A CMMS instantly fixes this by enforcing standardized part catalogs and really rigid classification. It basically cuts out purchasing redundancy right at the source.
Now, for the second and third steps, we have to stop relying on static data. Instead of those fixed min-max levels that someone defined years ago, the CMMS recalculates parameters using your actual consumption history from real work orders. Plus, the system links parts directly to asset criticality. So what does this mean for you? It ensures your high criticality parts are always readily available, while the stock of those low-risk, easily sourced items is dramatically reduced.
Moving over to steps 4 and 5, this is all about shining a spotlight into the dark corners of your warehouse. Real-time visibility prevents your technicians from blindly reordering lost parts just because they couldn't spot them on a shelf. Simultaneously, CMMS reporting automatically highlights the 15 to 30% of your inventory that is just totally obsolete. We're talking items with zero movement over the last 24 to 36 months. Disposing of this dead weight frees up massive amounts of locked capital and space.
Section 4. Discipline over software features, why structure matters most.
Okay, time for a crucial reality check. The catch here is that inventory savings come from process discipline, not just buying fancy software features and, hoping for the best. Without enforcing a strict spare parts taxonomy, regular cycle counts, and absolute consistency in recording consumption on your work orders, even the most expensive CMMS out there becomes nothing more than a passive, useless database. You literally have to feed it good habits if you want to get good data out.
And this discipline helps bust one of the absolute biggest myths in maintenance, that persistent fear that cutting stock inherently increases your risk of downtime. Now, to be fair, blind across-the-board reductions, yeah, those definitely increase your risk. But data-driven reductions, the kind powered by a disciplined CMMS that actually understands asset criticality, those actually improve your availability. It's wild but true. You stock less overall, but you stock exactly the right things.
Which brings us to Section 5, the path to predictability, achieving consistent results.
30%. Let that number sink in. According to industry benchmarks, organizations with a mature, well-implemented CMMS strategy consistently achieve up to 30% lower MRO, that's maintenance, repair, and operations, inventory levels. And honestly, the best part? They usually hit these numbers within just 12 to 18 months of disciplined use. All of this while actually improving their service levels. It's a real game changer.
The source material points to systems like Man-Win-Win as a really prime example of how to execute this successfully. It gives you the enterprise-grade structure you absolutely need to enforce taxonomy across complex portfolios. But, and this is key, it avoids the heavy, burdensome overhead of those massive EAM platforms. It stays practical, and that means the maintenance teams actually on the ground will genuinely adopt it and feed it the accurate data you need to make the whole strategy work.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you look at your warehouse tomorrow, ask yourself, are you just trying to blindly cut stock to keep the finance department happy, or are you actually building a system to remove uncertainty? True optimization isn't about guesswork. It's about replacing those guesses with solid data, enforcing rigorous discipline, and gaining total control over your ecosystem. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope it gives you a clear, actionable roadmap for your own inventory optimization journey.